Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we're talking Medtronic stock, ticker symbol MDT. As a disclaimer, this is not investment advice. This is just a research video that I put together meant to be educational as well as entertaining. We're going to take a look at a few different news clippings and articles surrounding the company, and then we're going to jump into the stock. Thank you for your time. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Please enjoy.
There's a nice signal that it can only be due to this P wave.
In the history of pacemakers, no one has ever done this before.
Typically, when you're sensing the heart, you're using electrical sensing. This is really the first device that's doing beat-to-beat mechanical sensing.
The result is a new generation of Medtronic pacemaker called Micra AV.
The word that comes to mind is transformational.
Until now, pacemakers sensed the heart's electrical activity and used that information to provide pacing. But Medtronic scientists figured out how to repurpose sensors already inside the original Micra leadless pacemaker to recognize certain physical or mechanical movements inside the heart. Using this first-of-its-kind approach, Micra AV can detect the mechanical activity of a beat in one chamber of the heart, the atrium, and then pace another chamber where Micra is implanted, the ventricle, helping the two chambers beat in rhythm.
It's quite complex. It's probably more complex detection from a pacing perspective of any algorithm that we've done in the history of Medtronic.
New York University electrophysiologist Dr. Larry Chinitz implanted the very first Micra pacemaker in the United States and led clinical studies of Micra AV.
We're able now to achieve AV synchrony with a device the size of a pill placed in the ventricular apex without incisions, without leads, and a 63% lower incidence of complications. If this is not a game changer, if this is not the future of cardiac pacing, then I have never witnessed such an event in my career.
Worldwide, more than 50,000 patients in 60 countries have now received the original Micra leadless pacemaker. Roy Benson's doctor recommended he get one after post-surgery complications developed with Roy's traditional pacemaker.
I knew the other one was under my skin. I knew it had wires going to my heart. I was aware of it all the time. I'm not even aware of this one. Don't even know it's there.
Since its inception, treatment with leadless pacing has been appropriate in only about 15% of pacemaker cases. But FDA approval of Micra AV could make leadless pacing available to up to half of all patients who need a pacemaker.
I still see this field as being in its infancy. I think we're at the beginning. And technology changes to do two things. One, make the therapy better, and two, make the therapy safer. And this is about both of those things.
Well, this quarter, some of that came from ventilator sales and pulse oximetry sales, which were, helping patients with COVID. But actually, that is a relatively small part of the company's total revenue. Really, in that MITG division, what really drove a lot of it also is our surgical business, which is one of our core franchises. It's our largest business, and it had a really strong quarter and took market share.
People don't understand your neuromodulation business. Now, you and I have talked about it off camera. It's extraordinary. You own it. No competition. 3% organic growth. Explain to people the wonder of this division.
Look, as you mentioned, Jim, neuromodulation is a wonderful technology that does so much for patients and I think has a very bright future. Medtronic invented it over 20 years ago, and we're in a couple of segments. One is a brain modulation for treatment of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, pain, where we actually block using an implantable stimulator to block pain signals to the brain to alleviate back and leg pain. And then another one, which is not talked about a lot, but is a big market, probably 800 million, almost $1 billion market and growing double digits right now, is overactive bladder, incontinence for women in particular. And this is a business that, people don't like to talk about it very much, but it's a huge need out there. And that market is growing in the double digits. And we stimulate a nerve, it's the sacral nerve, to control overactive bladder. So and overall, what you're seeing here is between the miniaturization of electronics, the introduction of data, and the ability to personalize therapy through closed loop. We are moving to the front of the line here for therapies for these conditions.
Jeff, is this the year that you can go up against Dexcom, go up against Abbott with Libra? Because your diabetes franchise was first among equals, and I know that you're just chomping at the bit to be able to compete here.
Absolutely. Look, diabetes is probably the biggest area that we're focused on and getting back to that market growth. And, you know, we compete against those guys, but we're the one company, though, that has the complete solution. The insulin delivery, the continuous glucose monitoring, the algorithms that drive those those technologies, as well as the customer service, because it's a heavy patient interaction business, and we're global. And we are the one company with that total solution versus the piece parts. And our weakness has been the continuous glucose monitoring, and we're launching a number of products in that area that will get us back to a competitive position. Matter of fact, we just launched our new, what we call our 780G closed loop system in Europe, and we are gaining share there. It's not in the United States yet. We can't wait to get it to the United States. We're gaining share. The patient feedback is phenomenal. And the time and range, which diabetics like to manage, is at levels we've never seen before. So it gives us optimism for the future for that division.
Speaking of the future, Jeffrey, the Times has a piece out this morning talking about the health effects that come from a period like the pandemic where you had a dramatic drop-off in preventative care, doctor visits for an entire year. And the question is, how does that manifest itself as we come out of the pandemic? Do you think that, although it's tragic for that patient population, that will drive demand in the back half of this year?
Well, first of all, let me address the patient situation. It is a tragic situation, and Medtronic, as well as some of our competitors, are working with the different physician societies and the hospitals to get campaign public messaging out there. Matter of fact, Medtronic with the American Heart Association sponsored a campaign called "Don't Die of Doubt." Encouraging patients who are having symptoms to get to the hospital, because we are seeing patients present themselves further down into their condition, and it is a problem. And so, yes, it will drive demand. There'll be a pent-up demand, and patients will be hitting the hospitals. And we're seeing hospitals gear up for that. And in our quarterly earnings here, we talked about our capital equipment sales. We do sell equipment directly tied to these procedures, and hospitals are buying this capital equipment, things like consoles that power surgical tools, surgical robots like we talked about for orthopedics, in our case spine, navigation systems for surgery. We're seeing that capital equipment sales at record levels because they're preparing for this patient rebound.
I'm always going to look for an interview or something from the CEO of companies that I research. It allows me to wrap my head around the vision for the company, and it gives me just a better peace of mind of what I am investing into. Okay, I am here at the Medtronic webpage in their healthcare professionals products page, and I just wanted to showcase their pipeline of products that they have available to their clients, patients, and we see it's quite impressive. And as a biologist and someone who's studying neuroscience currently, I think that it's not only impressive, but it's nice to see that there are companies out there that are doing good organically and business-wise. Not everything that sometimes that I research is able to have both good applications, but I digress. But just take a look at some of these products that the CEO we heard speak a little bit about it, but we're going to take a quick look here coming up. And I am very interested in their neurological products, their cranial robots, their critical care products, the deep brain stimulation systems. For me, it's just very interesting. I find I like to study that. So we're going to take a look at some of their products a little bit more in detail. But again, I just wanted to highlight, as an investor, it's nice to see that a company that I'm researching, a company that I hold, I don't trade this company. I own it. I'm going to own it for a long time. And I think it's just safe to say that this is a very nice pipeline for a company to invest in, for sure.
No matter how good the surgeon and no matter how good their knowledge, we can still go astray and need a helping hand. Neurosurgery is a specialty that's inherently intertwined with cutting-edge technology, and we can use that to guide us when we're navigating the brain. Today, I'm going to show you how neurosurgeons can use infrared and electromagnetic image guidance systems to show us exactly where we are in the brain during critical operations like brain tumor surgery or inserting biopsy needles deep into the brain. This is a Medtronic Stealth Station S8. It's a combination of hardware and software that uses special trackable instruments, such as this pointer and this stilette. To be able to guide the neurosurgeon, the system tracks the position of these instruments in relation to the surgical anatomy and sends that information to the software. The software then displays the instrument's position on either the CT or MRI scan of that patient. The system can track instruments either optically using an infrared camera or electromagnetically. With optical tracking, this camera sends out and then detects infrared light that's reflected from these silver balls. The camera then transmits the instrument's location to the navigation software. Similarly, with electromagnetic tracking, the emitter emits a low-energy magnetic field with unique characteristics at every point. The electromagnetic instruments contain sensors, which allow the navigation software to identify the instrument's location within the electromagnetic field. For the software to display the instrument's location in relation to images of the patient, you've got to help the software by creating a map between points on the patient and points in the images. This process is called registration, and it's essentially the same for both optical and electromagnetic types. After registration is complete, whenever the surgeon touches a point on the patient using one of these tracked instruments, the computer uses the map to identify the corresponding point on the images. This identification is called navigation, and now I'm going to show you both systems in action. Here we've got an MRI scan of a brain model that we're going to use. Coming up, you see this white blob, which is supposed to be a simulated brain tumor on the MRI scan. Up here, you can see an eye coming into view, and then the nose. So this is the brain that's going to correspond with the model. In the bottom right-hand corner, we're using infrared tools, and you can see the pointer coming into reference with the reference array that we've got fixed to the patient's head. We're going to be doing registration, as we mentioned before, marking out lots of points with the infrared pointer. Now, we can verify the registration. We've got 1.5mm accuracy, which will do for this simulation. So, we're going to touch the tip of the nose on the model, and you can see in the MRI that that correlates well. Let's look at the inner part of the eye, and that looks good, the outer part of the eye, and the tip of the ear. And this is all looking like it's corresponding really nicely. If we put the pointer into this hole that's pre-made, we're on the tumor, so that's looking good as well. And this is a pre-made craniotomy or trapdoor in the skull that's going to allow us to just access the tumor straight away. In real life, we'd make this hole and that would take about 45 minutes to an hour, having cut through the skin and drilled off this bone. So we can operate around this tumor and see exactly where we are in the brain, avoiding critical structures like blood vessels, nerves, and parts of the brain that are important for speaking.
Okay, let's take a look at this article from MedTech Dive. Medtronic heart wave system hit with slew of Class 1 recalls. Device reports since 2012. PMA, the pump has a higher rate of malfunction reports than rivals based on the ECRI analysis of the FDA's MOD database, but it's hard to draw conclusions from a disparate system of safety reporting. So this article came out yesterday, the 21st of May, and I'm not going to go through the entire article, but I just wanted to highlight just some interesting things, right? When I'm researching a company, I want to know what's going on with it, obviously. Not everything is just, rosy and everything is perfect with the company, of course, especially in this line of work in healthcare technology and biotech. There's a lot to be said with its approval system, then its FDA relationships, but, as we go through it, the string of recalls and lack of clarity on causality and disparate nature of available data underscores the patchwork system used by the FDA to monitor the safety of medical devices. Both industry and regulators acknowledge the reporting data is incomplete, may be duplicative, or criteria like injuries and deaths could also be underreported. Still, independent experts said the trend is worth further exploring. Of course, I'm going to just take a little quick break from the article real quick. Of course, right? Anytime something bad happens and it's related to devices, it's bad news, of course. However, I'm always going to look at the glass half full. Medtronic seems to be transparent in if they're going to put out a statement or whatever. So we can just see here, continuing on with the article, that Medtronic is evaluating the system and implementing robust corrective action plans. The company is regularly communicating with the FDA to ensure transparency with them as we work to improve performance and mitigate against device performance issues. That's from an emailed statement. And Medtronic did not comment about the specific steps the company is taking to improve the system. That's just, how things work. People want to know what exactly are they going to do to perhaps fix this issue. And, with or without clear guidance, it's kind of hard to just tell the public exactly what they will be doing. But one can imagine that perhaps in the near future, things will start to come out. And again, it's 2 recalls were related to the HVAC system, but not direct components of the pump, such as a repair kit for parts of the system, and the most recent recall for instructions and patient manuals. So I'll leave the article in the show notes. Help yourself to it. Again, no death and injury reports data were provided in FDA recall notices for the system before 2020. So again, I'm sure that more things will come out in regard to some of the recalls. But again, it's nice to see that news, whether good or bad, gets to us. And as an investor, it's important to pay attention to all things surrounding companies that you're invested into. Everyone should do their own due diligence, do their homework, and make sure that you understand what you are participating in. Okay, we are here on Yahoo Finance. A report from Zacks came out a couple of days ago. Medtronic reveals promising results from Evolute trial. Medtronic presented the complete 2-year outcome from its Evolute low-risk trial virtually at the Euro PCR 2021 e-course. This outcome demonstrated Medtronic's Evolt transcatheter aortic valve replacement (TAVR) system's strong performance compared to open heart surgery in younger and healthier patients, low-risk aortic stenosis. So, again, I will leave this article in the show notes. Please help yourself to it. This is just showing some data from the results, and non-inferior to open heart surgery. The TAVR system has exhibited excellent hemodynamic blood flow performance compared to open heart surgery. It has also demonstrated lower death rates and fewer instances of heart failure, hospitalizations, and stroke compared to surgery. Now, I am no physician, I'm no surgeon, but I have had a few surgeries. Nothing to do with this body part right here. I have nothing to do with this system, with the heart surgery or anything like that. But I've had, facial reconstructive surgery. I've had tibia implanted with a metal rod, a titanium rod. So, but what I'm trying to get to is that every time that I had surgery, the doctor, the surgeon was doing everything that they could do in order to prevent. That's like the last thing that they want to do. And so this seems that if it can be helped, that if a patient can get treatment without having to go into open heart surgery, then yes, then it just seems like a no-brainer. Like, that's a plus, right? So again, I'm not going to go through the article too much in depth. I'll leave it for you to take a look at. It's just really good to see that the system that Medtronic is implementing is going to have, and it has been showing some good data. So, it's just part of my research that I want to know what's going on with the company. And moving forward, I think that it's safe to say that more of these types of products that come out from Medtronic will only help to increase its portfolio. Let's continue. Okay, I am here on Seeking Alpha on the Medtronic page, currently running at 127.29 and the after hours of 128.48. And just want to go over a few things. Looking at the chart, just a quick little glimpse about it. It's performed quite well, and more recently, it's kind of just been trading sideways. But this company, I hold it in my long-term portfolio, and look here, April 2020 recorded a revenue of 28.91 billion. This year, the estimate is 29.98 billion, and in 2022, the estimate is to grow to 32.57 billion. And this is a nice representation of what I believe this company is capable of. We look here, the Q3 estimate of 2021 and the actual. So you see here that it is actually performing quite well. The estimate for Q4 of 2021 is 142, and then we look at the Q1 estimate for 2022. The EPS estimate is at $1.29. I think that it's a very strong company. It has, it has its nice product, and I think that I'm more attracted to the services and the products that this company puts out. But look at a little bit of a plus here, right? With their dividend, look at the yield, their annual payout, and their payout ratio is nice. I prefer a payout ratio under 60%, and it is right there at 53.55%. And it's been growing for the past 42 years. Its latest announced dividend is 58 cents. And I like to see these stair-stepping patterns of ascension, especially when it comes to dividend growth. That is a plus for me. Its market capitalization is at 171.6 billion. Its total debt of 30.32 billion. It's got 14.64 billion of cash. It is held quite nicely by institutions and by the public sector. So the individual and insider percent of shares outstanding is very small. I wonder, I'd have to kind of look through it a little bit more, but the video is kind of getting along already. But some of the peers, Danaher, Abbott, Intuitive, Stryker, in my opinion, of course, I like Abbott Laboratories, but in my opinion, Medtronic is best in class. There are, discrepancies. They are all for a greater good, what these companies do. So I just happen to prefer Medtronic, but that's nothing to take away from their peers. So I do like this company for the long term, as well as perhaps short term to medium time horizons, but it is a favorite of this industry and of this sector, the healthcare sector for sure. So let's move on to the chart. Okay, I'm here on my trading view looking at the Medtronic chart. I am on the 1 hour chart, and I want to start by its latest dividend payment in late March. And from that moment to where we're currently at, it's had a nice run, and it's performed quite well. In my opinion, not too volatile at all. A very nice, boring movement. But, obviously this company is not boring by any means. So, but I just wanted to showcase that in the past, other companies that I researched, sometimes on earnings or their dividends and different significant events. But a dividend usually just plays into people either buying into it or getting paid into it, and it usually gives an uptrend. So I want to make a few different. I really am just going to, let me consolidate this down a little bit, and I want to make a trend line just for me, for myself, and here. And again, I like to always make sure that this is not investment advice. This is just a research video, right? So anything can happen, but I do see where it's currently trading at in the high 120s, low 130s, that it can perhaps take some dips. But if we were to just play it out as, let's just say it does trade lower and it stays along this trend line, then I could see it testing the low 130s as a level of resistance. But if it were to make this trend line a level of support and trade off of that and bounce off that, then I can see that it would perhaps continue to grow further. And if I extend this trend line out to a level that I'm going to put for myself of the high 130s, low 140s, around 138, around close to $10 from where it is right now. So let me, demonstrate also to what I like. Let me get this right around here. And make it right around there. And within this trend line, within this triangle pattern, if we can trade around here, right? Let's say we trade in this little triangle here. Depending on when it reaches this new or this existing level of resistance, let's see what it does. If it makes that a level of support, then to the moon, right? But if it decides to dump off and want to retest it later on, that's just a healthy demonstration in my opinion, and I will look for it as a buying opportunity. If it does continue to drop below, let's say like the mid 120s, then I see it as a good buying opportunity. So that's what I got for the chart. To the moon. All right, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you for your time. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. It really does help people find my channel. If there's another company, ETF, IPO, or a cryptocurrency that you'd like to see me research, just drop it in the comment section below, and I will do my best to get to it as soon as possible. Thank you again. Y'all take care. See ya.